Hey guys, it's ANicWin, also known as Amy, and happy Monday. I hope you're having a lovely day. This is going to be a rental cabin in Granite Falls, and there's a very specific reason for why I chose that type of build. But before I announce that or express that, I just want to point out we did start on the lot with some terrain paint already placed down. I'm going to be using terrain tools, and unfortunately, the terrain tools are not intuitive to use when landscaping, so I wanted to place the landscaping down first. I didn't want to use the tool mod. I actually don't like the tool mod at all. I don't like mods. I play with like UI installed, and every now and then I'll get a wild, idea to have MCC Command Center or whatever that is installed, and then I always remove it. I don't like it. I like to play kind of a vanilla game. I know that's boring, but it is what it is. I can't live without UI cheats though, because it rains so much. If I play without it, it rains every single sim day, and I can't. I cannot. I can't handle that. So anyway, so I did place down. I kind of mapped out where my lot was going to be, what it was going to look like, and I shaded in where the start of the hillside was going to be with terrain paint, and then we work off of that. So that's what's happening there. And I did use a reference image for this. I don't have the image anymore. I'm gonna try to look it up, and if I can find it, I will insert it about here, about, the 1 minute 45-second mark. And if I can't find it, it just won't be here, and I do apologize for that. I usually save them, and I didn't save this one, so oversight on my part. Now, the reason that I am posting a cabin is not because I just really love them, although I do enjoy a good cabin build. Why did I say like that? Like I'm nervous. Anyway, exactly a year ago today at 10 a.m., which is the time this video is going live, I posted my first ever speed build on YouTube. I've had YouTube for I don't even know how long, years at this point, because I do like watching YouTube videos other than Sims content. And I posted my first video, and it was a Kentucky inspired cabin. It's still up if you want to watch it. I make no promises. It was genuinely my first time experiencing any sort of video editing, recording, all of that. All of that was brand new. The only skill I had going into that was I could build, kind of. So, ooh. But I still really like the build. I like looking back, and I thought that this would be a really cool opportunity since my posting dates kind of coincide here. It would be an interesting opportunity to go ahead and build another one and kind of have it for a comparison. And I'm the only one comparing. I'm not expecting you guys to compare, but I like it. I'm sentimental like that though, so it's just me. Now you will notice that I've used two different foundation types for this build. That is because that solid foundation is supposed to look like a basement. I was going to try to put windows on it and completely forgot. I honestly don't know if you can. I don't think you can. But you can like make a false foundation basement level with like roof pieces, like if you really wanted to, and I didn't. So there's that, but it is meant to look like a basement. I technically could have built like the first floor, had the decking go around the second floor, and then had a third floor, but I didn't want to furnish a basement. I'm just going to be fully transparent there. I had no interest in doing that. And two, when you use terrain manipulation next to foundation like that, or next to a floor, like a level, it doesn't, how do I explain this? The dirt isn't flush against the building like it should be. It has this weird little like divot. It's almost like a trench. And if you're going to have really high terrain levels like I am going to, it looks not great. So I didn't want to do that. So that limited my options here, but I'm really pleased with how this turned out. So I'm not upset. My plan took a little bit of adjustment. But as you can see, there are a ton of rocks. There's a ton of greenery in the rocks. And it just kind of has this overgrown, kind of natural look, which is what I was going for. I don't add a ton of greenery to the house because I am imagining if it's an active rental unit, they're not going to let the house itself fall into disrepair, or at least they shouldn't. Hopefully you don't stay somewhere like that. But to each their own. And I'm just kind of mimicking what I see in the world as per usual. That's how I always prefer to landscape, unless I'm doing something completely off the cuff, you know, completely wild. And I'm just having a lot of fun with it. I'm placing a ton of debug. I don't think I use a single plant from, well, I might use some of those white ones that are from the actual menu, but everything else isn't. So I don't think this house is very expensive. If you wanted to download it and actually use it as a residence, you could. All the, you know, all the requirements are here for it to be a residence, so it's definitely an option. But there is a kind of side porch. I don't do anything to that skinny bit that's in the front. I really just needed that to create the fire, that's not a fireplace, the chimney stack, which is funny because it's not connected to the house, so I don't really know how that would work. And then I do create a fire pit down here, and there's just going to be a few other things out in the yard, and then there is a back deck where you can kind of like, you know, get your tan on and look at the water, do things, be in nature. And as you can see right now, we are lifting up some of the terrain. I did accidentally flatten it after doing that. Thank the sim gods we have a back button, because that would have been very upsetting to me. But I just raise everything. I go through and smooth it, and then I just kind of inspect it just to make sure it's at the appropriate heights that I want it to be at. And then I keep raising as needed. Terrain tools are not that complicated to use. Like, in theory, they can be a little difficult to use in practice. So I've had a little bit of practice. I feel fairly comfortable with them. I can't do anything super crazy, but I can do the basics, which I'm really proud of, because I could not use them in previous iterations, and I couldn't use it in The Sims 4 for the longest time, and I kind of had to like teach myself a little bit. So that's thrilling for me. Like a year ago, I could not have done this. Just to give you an idea of the progress we've made. Now I did cut out some of the landscaping as I stutter through that, just because it got a little bit repetitive. Like I didn't show me placing all of the stones around the fire pit. That felt unnecessary. But I did that. We add a tent. There will be a horseshoe. Is that what that's called? Yeah, horseshoe, like the game thing down by this tree here. We'll see that in just a second. And I don't go too crazy with the details on the exterior. Again, it's just because it's a rental lot. If this had been a residential, I would have gone a little bit more above and beyond. Excuse me. But it didn't really feel necessary or authentic in this case, so I did kind of hold back a little bit. I don't know how many of you have had experiences with renting a cabin, but there's not a whole lot outside to do, just because like bears are usually a safety issue. So you'll find like a hot tub usually with like a little grill area, and it's usually on a locked porch that's kind of up and away from the ground. It's not like on the ground level. It is what it is, but we don't have bears in the game, so it's fine. But I do throw in a hot tub. Every time I've stayed in a cabin, there's been a hot tub. I think if I stayed in one without one, I'd be like, what's the joke? Like, what are you doing here? You know, it's one of those things that comes with it. And then I decided to put the picnic table and the grill over here as well. It just felt like it belonged on this side for some reason. It just felt natural to place it there. So I did shift that around a little bit. And then I placed the lawn, those aren't really lawn chairs. What are those, like sunbeds? I don't really know what you would call those, lounge chairs. But I place them back here. I use these little stools as tables rather than as a stool. Technically your Sims can sit on them, but they're like the perfect table height and they look rustic, so I went with it, and I think those came with Jungle Adventures. I could be wrong. I don't know. I place a second chest table, and then we head into the interior, and I jump right into the loft. So this is a lofted build. Now it's a little bit weird because the ladder is in the bathroom, but it was either place it there or place it in the master bedroom, and I decided to give the master bedroom a little bit more privacy. So to climb up and down, you have to go into the bathroom, which means when you're using the bathroom and showering, a small child could stare at you. It's not ideal, but it's fine. It's okay. It'll be fine. Now, as you may notice as well, There are 3 archways because I wanted it to be a lofted space, but if I if I placed a fence, it was going to have the roof pieces clip. And I did not want that. That was ruining the vibe. So I placed archways, and then I placed these little room dividers. And I wanted it to kind of look like those slide all the way across, and maybe they're open right now just because the room is open. So I wanted it to look like you could close it off or open it up as you wanted to do so. And I actually really like the detail. I was just playing around with it, trying to figure out how I could achieve this look. I like it. It's not ideal. It's not how I would prefer that it look, but it works, right? I like it. I don't know. I might do that again. I might not. I don't know if it would fit any other vibe but this. So I'm adding some clutter to the dresser. There are quite a few toys up here. I wanted it to look like it was a bright, happy space for kids to come, that it would feel safe. There would be things for them to do. It kind of makes me think of the summer camp from It Takes Two. If any of you have seen that movie, I don't know if you have. It was a 90s movie with Mary-Kate and Ashley, who I was obsessed with as a kid. I'm not even gonna lie. But yeah, then we move on to the master bedroom here, and this room ends up being a lot brighter as well. Is brighter than I thought it was going to be. I kept wood paneling, but I decided that here and upstairs we were going to have the Parenthood paneling, which would have some paint and then kind of like the chair rail around the room. And I just preferred that. I didn't want the entire build to be wood. I don't actually like wood paneling in any situation. That includes shiplap. It's just not my thing. But I feel like I use it a lot in The Sims just to give some texture and some dimension. Initially, I was going to place this, it's technically a love seat. It looks like a bench though, but it looked so uncomfortable and it looked so uninviting that it just, it wasn't, it wasn't the move. So I get rid of that, and I actually go with one from, I think, Nifty Knitting. It's either Nifty Knitting or it was Tiny Living. That might be Tiny Living. But I decided to go with this bright red one. It's the same kind of rusty bright red that's in the bedspread, which was actually with cats and dogs. So that was a happy little discovery. I didn't realize they would kind of go together or pair together as well, and they did. Place a few paintings, and then I do place a dresser. I don't think it's that important to have clothing storage in a rental thing, like a rental space. I don't use it. I live out of a suitcase when I travel, typically. Sometimes I unpack, but more often than not, I just leave it in the bag. It's just easier that way, but I wanted to give them the option, or the illusion of the option. And that's pretty much it for the master. It's a cozy little getaway for the couple if they choose to, or the single parent if they're here with their children, or whatever the situation may be. Then we work on the bathroom. Like I said, that ladder is in here. People can peep down at you, but it's The Sims, and I think it's fine. And if you really needed to enforce some privacy, you could just tell everyone in the loft to get out and lock the door. It would be fine. It would be okay. But I do place a bathtub. I don't worry about a shower. I don't really overly decorate or overly clutter. I just wanted it to be appealing and look kind of lived in. And we're going to do the thing where I take a sip of water. Forgive me. I'm going to hold it. I leaned away from the mic a little bit, so hopefully you don't hear me swallow, because I don't like hearing it. And I imagine you guys don't. But then we jump into the kitchen here. I love this kitchen. One, I don't think I've ever used that flooring. I always want to, and I feel like I can't pull it off. So that was thrilling. And two, I really like that bright tile. Again, I don't feel like I can ever use it as often as I want to, especially not in a kitchen. It always feels really overwhelming, but because the rest of the living space is this wood paneling, it needed it. We needed that pop of color. We needed that break in the paneling. Otherwise, it was going to be really overwhelming to just have all wood. Again, that's just my opinion. You might like that look. You might change it. I don't know. But I did change out the uppers. I used base game lowers, and I had the corresponding cabinets, and I just didn't like the look. It was a little too fancy. So I think these are it's either the country kitchen kit ones or the cottage living ones. And I think it's cottage living, just because that curtain isn't pink. If I'm remembering correctly. Anyway, I start to clutter up the cabinets. I did 110% forget a sink, and so I moved the microwave, and I think I actually end up getting rid of the microwave. I don't think we keep it, but I placed a sink here under the window. I think that's always nice to have a sink near a window. It's not always realistic or a requirement in a build, but it is nice to be able to look outside if you're stuck doing the dishes. And we just add some minimal clutter. I include some wine bottles. There's a tea maker on the stove, a coffee pot that does get kept, but I actually shift it to the other side of the stove because I don't like it in the corner. It just wasn't jiving with me. It'd be like that sometimes. Sometimes things just don't work. I hang a plant from the cabinet. That's just a thing that I like doing right now. It's almost like a phase. I can't stop, and I don't want to. Like, I think it's fine. Maybe it's not. Maybe you hate it. I don't know. But I get in these sort of like loops is what I call them with decorating, and there's like tactics or techniques that I can't stop because I like them so much that I include it for everything. I don't know. I was going to initially place an island, but I felt like I've been doing too many islands, and I'm going to do one in the next build that you're about to see. So I went ahead and just placed this table. I clutter it up just a little bit. It's meant to look like maybe a pop-up island. I have one of those in my own kitchen. Love it. And I placed a couple of chairs. Your Sims will sit at those, but they won't place their plate down. So it's functional, but not. It's an illusion. And then we work on the dining room. Now, there is a corresponding swatch, and I was trying not to use that table swatch. I didn't want it to be too orange, but in the end, I decided to go with it. I do blend a couple of different chairs. One's from Seasons. The other one is Get Together, I think. And I just place a plant on the table. Again, I'm not going overly cluttered because it's not a residence. And then we work on the living room, and this is not my favorite room in the house, but the whole room together, like once I decorate the upper floor, which you'll see in a minute, it does end up being kind of cool. And I'm going to say that knowing that I built it, and that's a lot like giving myself a compliment. But I do. I think it's kind of cool how realistic it seems. And it reminds me a lot of a cabin I've actually stayed in. So I don't know what that says about me. But I give them a fireplace because there is a chimney. It's as close to where the chimney stack is. It's still not right on. I don't know. That confuses me. But I used a reference image and I just went off of the reference image. So don't come for me. I know it's not realistic, but maybe it is. I don't know. I'm not an architect. But I give them a small TV on top of the fireplace just to give them a little something to do, maybe in case it's cold or it's raining outside. They're not like just stuck and bored. There is a bookshelf. I almost forgot what that was called. And then I just place a few decorations here on this wall, and we'll add a rug, and that's pretty much it for the living room. And then in this little tiny sense of an entryway, I give them a shoe rack and a coat rack. I imagine if you've been hiking, you don't want to drag mud all the way through the house. And then we're going to work here on the upper levels. Because this is open and I can't place windows on this wall because it is a roof piece, I decided to go ahead and do kind of a combination of mounted fish. I also end up putting a clock in the middle, and there's like a rounded wall sculpture piece from Journey to Batu that goes over top of the clock. I've done that before. You may have seen it. You may recognize it. It felt like it fit here. And then this side is just cluttered up with paintings. So on that note, I'm going to leave you guys here. Thank you so much for watching. As always, you can feel free to let me know what you think by leaving me a like or a comment down below. You can also subscribe if that's something that would spark joy for you. I will be posting screenshots on Instagram as per usual if you want to hop over there and check those out. I will see you on Monday with my next video, and in the meantime, I hope you have a lovely day and a lovely rest of your week. Bye, guys.
At a tree, I remember how it started. I was lost in a dream when the fire in my heart said an open rose. And